Welcome to Phonogenics 101, a Riotboy production hosted by Jeremy Gloff. The podcast where people who love music discuss albums track by track. Please hit subscribe, and if you'd like to support this podcast, patreon.com/Jeremy Gloff or Venmo @Jeremy Gloff. And now, on to the music. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Phonogenics 101. I'm here with the Emmylou Harris crew. Today, we are going to talk about her legendary album, Quarter Moon in a 10-Cent Town. I'd like to thank everyone that contributes to my Patreon. It's very nice to get a little contribution for this podcast. And I'm really trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers. So if you enjoy this podcast, please just hit the subscribe button because that's a goal. So anyway, gentlemen, thank you. We've had a couple schedule changes, and we're doing 2 Emmylou podcasts this month since January was so busy for all of us. We're very busy people. But I have Tadia and Richard, my Emmylou friends, and Happy New Year. Have we seen each other yet this year?
I don't think so.
No.
All right. Well, we have a long journey ahead of us. We're talking about all the Emmylou albums, song by song, track by track. We're going to do the duet albums. We're going to do the trio albums. We're just going to hit everything. And it's really been a pleasure so far. We've covered Gliding Bird, Pieces of the Sky, Elite Hotel, and Luxury Liner. So by this time of this album, Emmylou had already really established herself as the queen of the silver dollar, you shall say.
Yeah.
And I feel like every album just kind of built on the one before it. They just, the hot band got hotter. The songs just got better and better. And Luxury Liner was such a crowning achievement. So I feel like once you get to the top of the mountain, you can either try again and not do as well, or you can switch gears and do something different. And I feel like that's why Emmylou is still with us in 2025. She always knows when to kind of throw the curveball and do something different. So today we are talking about Quarter Moon in a 10-Cent Town. She switched gears a little bit. She went with contemporary songwriters. And Richard, I always like to start talking with you because you were around in real time when these came out. How did you receive this album? What did you think of it?
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, I was so impressed when I put the needle down on Easy From Now On that it won me like that because I love that song, and she was the first person to record it. So that and it also, I mean, moving on, it has the debut of 2 great Rodney Crowell songs, Leaving Louisiana and Ain't Living Long Like This. So, I mean, I love this album when it came out.
All right, and Taddy, I know you started really going through the Emmylou discography in the 90s, I believe. What did you think when you got to this album? What were your impressions?
Well, it's not my favorite Emmylou Harris album. It's not. It's one of the albums I've listened to at least of all her albums. But what I learned is that this album is a lot of people's favorite.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That just goes to show that we have different tastes, which is good because Emmy has music for everybody. But this album is, like Richard said, it's a little bit different from the others. It was a slightly little change there, in the material and the songs that we were used to hearing from the previous 3 albums.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be a lot more of a pop album than a country album too when you first think about it.
Yeah, I would agree on that one, and I think that it's the album itself has great songs. It has great songs. It's just something. I actually remember hearing an interview with Emmylou about the album, and I kind of understand what she said there because they were doing a showcase on her first 5 Warner Brothers albums. Mm-hmm. And when it came to Quarter Moon, she said something that it's not her favorite album. She loves the songs, but she was kind of getting a little bit more involved with the production, and she felt that the album was overproduced. It was too much. It was too how can I explain that? It was too
glossy, kind of.
too glossy. She said that you should, if you had only listened to the raw mixes before the end result, you would understand what I mean, she said in that interview. And because she was like getting behind the gear, and she was starting to like, Brian Herb would let her take charge, she said, in production.
He would or would not?
He would. He let her on this album, and she was like putting on layers and stuff, and she was like putting on more and more because she was probably excited about it, but she shouldn't have. If she knew better, she said she would have let Brian Aherne do it instead of letting her take over a little bit, because it became a little bit too much produced compared to what she had wanted it to be.
Okay.
But the album has hold up, and it has a great sound to it. The songs are very diverse. It has some country, some rock and roll, more pop to it, and it probably was the right direction for her to go back then, you know, because she had made 3 albums before that. It was a little rock and roll, a little bit more country, and then the next step was to take it a little bit further, you know. So it's a cool album. I love the album cover on it as well. It's a beautiful album. That was painted. The cover, album front cover is by Susanna Clark. And actually that original painting, yeah, you see it there, Richard. Original painting hangs in Carlin Carter's kitchen today.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
because she co-wrote the first song with Susanna.
Yeah. Susanna gave that original painting to Carlin, and I actually seen it because I was there.
Wow.
Having a few tequilas, and I saw that it was hanging on the wall. I was like, "Damn, this is Emmy's album." She was like, "Right," and I wrote the first song on it.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I do feel like had Emmylou done more of the same, it might have gotten a little bit tiresome. So I do feel like it was a wise strategic decision to change with this album to kind of keep things interesting. Wasn't the mission statement that they're going for was to go with more contemporary songwriters than classics? Like, is there any covers of old songs on this? Nothing 50s, right?
The only 50s song is the last song, "Burn That Candle,"
Burn That Candle.
A Bill Haley and the Comets song.
Is that a Bill Haley song? I didn't know that.
You should look at the YouTube of him doing it. It's hilarious. It's got these hot pants dancers in it.
Oh wow! I think that is a song that's a little bit underrated. I mean, like, I would love to hear Remy do it because it's a cool song.
It's a cool song. Yeah. Yep. I do feel like the title and the cover continue like the image and the mystique that she was creating. I mean, you see a little line of the highway. You see like a light in the distance, the quarter moon. I mean, I remember this. My mom having this when I was a kid. It's so easy to get lost in this album cover. And this is the first one where we don't have Emmylou on the cover. And how many times in the future do we not have Emmylou on the cover? Not very often, right?
Yeah, not very often.
It's on the back cover.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful picture right there.
Yeah, that back cover photo was also used for the promotional poster that they would sell it for the tour.
I feel like it said a lot about Emmylou's confidence in this material that she went with this cover, something a little bit more artistic. And it's iconic. I mean, everyone knows this album from the 70s. Do you guys like the title, Quarter Moon in a 10-Cent Town?
I love it. I think the title is pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love the song it's from, too.
Right, which I guess we're about to go into. Anything else anyone wants to say about the album cover or anything general before we go into the song by song?
No, but I think that the cool thing to mention is that, you know, by the time she released this album, she was the hot band was starting to get well known.
Right.
By then, James Burton had left the band from touring. They had replaced him with Albert Lee, and Ricky Skaggs had joined. And he's not so much on the album just yet, but Albert Lee and James Burton are still recording with Emmy. But this is a full-blown hot band album.
Full-blown what?
It's the hot band that plays on the album.
Yeah.
And Mickey Ralphie is there, and she also have 2 members from the band is playing there as well.
Oh, right.
So, and she had, right before that, she had sung on the song Evangeline with the band, recorded for the Last Waltz production.
All right.
So I guess that, you know, they hooked up for this right after and started recording.
Yeah, apparently the Danko and Hudson were overdubbed.
Oh,
So,
okay.
And
yeah,
also,
yeah, because I read the Holly George Warren has liner notes in the reissue.
mhm.
So that's what she said in the liner notes anyway.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. But
Yeah.
the same year as this album was released, she made another album as well, which is still unreleased to this day. She made an album with Dolly and Linda
Oh, the
in
trio.
Oh,
78. Yeah, we have a few songs of that released, but they actually made a full blown album as well that are not released.
wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we have a picture on the inside, which ended up being used for her profile greatest hits album. Did that come out before or after this one?
Well,
After,
that came out after this.
Okay.
also beautiful album cover.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is a classic album, and like I said, the first five Warner Brothers albums that she made is very well known and did well, and this is one of them that's sold pretty good.
It's interesting because another thing that Holly Warren said in the liner notes is that Warner Brothers wanted to push her to go an even more pop after this.
Wow.
So she turns around and does Blue Kentucky Girl.
Yeah, she resisted that one. And damn, what an album that is, right? Damn.
And if that wasn't enough, she then jumped into Roses in the Snow.
Roses in the Snow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she was bold.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so let's
Yeah.
talk about the songs.
Easy from now. So when you think of the opening cuts of Emmy's albums, you had Bluebird Wine from the first album. Then you had Amarillo, and then Luxury Liner. So it was always kind of an up-tempo kind of energy. So this album really started different than the Emmylou albums had up to this point. The song is Easy from Now On. It starts off right with her singing. There's no intro. Right away, we know this is going to be a different kind of journey. The song was written by, who was it written by, gentlemen?
Susanna Clark and Carlene Carter, who was then Carlene Routh.
It's a mid-tempo song, very contemplative. She sang it in concert last time I saw her. And this is the song where the title of the album, Quarter Moon in a 10-Cent Town, is from. She actually opened her concert with this. My mom just got tears in her eyes because she always loved this song. This is a haunting song. It's a bold way to start an album. What do you guys think of this one?
I don't. That song is also like one of my favorite songs on this album, and it grows on you. The more you listen to it, the better it becomes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's in the beginning. The first time I heard it, I wasn't like very keen on it, but now it's one of the best songs on the album, I would say. The song was written by Carlene and Suzanne Clark. Suzanne Clark was Guy Clark's wife. They both passed away now. But Carlene had written the song because Susanna had like encouraged her to write songs. And I think that it was mostly Carlene who wrote the song, but then, Susanna would help her out do the finish. And Susanna called Emmy and said, we have a song for you, want you to listen to. And they drove down to the studio, and Carlene, she sang it to Emmylou. I think she was like 18 or 17 years old by the time or something. She was very young. And at the time, Emmy was the artist,
Right.
very popular, and so she was very nervous. And Emmy sat down, and Carlene, she said she was standing singing it in front of her, and she was very nervous. But Emmy, she said, I'm going to record it. And the next thing she knew, it was the first song on the album when it came out. So it was a pretty big deal for Carlene, and also Carlene said that was like the Kickstarter for her career as an artist. It kind of like put her on the map.
And it's not a song that you expect from a young person. I feel like there's some wisdom in it.
Well, Carlene was pretty hard living already by then, I think. Yeah, I mean, when did Musical Shapes come out? That Carlene Carter album? Do you remember?
I think that it was in 78 or 79.
So, like, not that long after this record.
But that was in England, I think. She went to England for a career start there.
That's where she met Nick Lowe.
Yeah, that's true. No, it is a good song, and like you said, the lyrics are pretty grown up. It is, I got a wild card in my sleeve, and quarter moon in a 10-cent town. I mean, it's pretty poetic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Miranda Lambert did this fairly recently.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She does a decent job with
It was a good try. She gave it a good try.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that somebody is like still doing the songs and like it, because it draws attention to the originals, you know,
Right.
when artists
Yeah.
are still paying tributes to artists like Emmylou, and people start listening to where it came from, you know. Yeah.
And I feel like
What do you-
as Emmylou does, she totally embodies the song and takes ownership of it. Like it's certainly an Emmylou Harris song. By the
Mhm.
time she's done with it here.
It is. It is. It is.
Do you like the production on it, Taria?
Yeah, I do like on that song. I have heard her sing it live a few times, and I like it live as well as good as as the album version. Yeah, it's a good song.
All right.
As I said, that's when I put it down. That's the first thing I hear when I buy the record, and it's like, oh man.
And since you remember that it came out, you know, you probably had a different feeling on it, you know, because it was probably brand new sound from Emmylou coming, and you would like be surprised by it, you know.
Yeah, actually, even Luxury Liners seemed a little bit different when it came out to me. I mean, compared to the two before that, because I didn't hear Gliding Bird till a lot later.
Right.
Yeah. You know, Luxury Liner and Quarter Moon, I would say that are pretty different albums.
Yeah,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So
I feel like this album almost sits nicely side by side with some of the Linda Ronstadt albums of the time. Simple Dreams.
Good point.
You know, some of that kind of same production. And, you know, Emmylou and Linda were close at this time. I don't know exactly which Emmylou album or Linda album was out. I know she had Hasten Down the Wind, Simple Dreams. I feel like that was all kind of from this period here.
When was Hasten Down the Wind? Was maybe 76 or 77, I think.
Okay. And this one was 78, right? Quarter Moon?
Yeah.
Okay.
She had Prisoner in Disguise and Simple Dreams. Those three Linda
Simple
albums.
Dreams is great.
Yeah. I saw her several times with during that period. She was outstanding in concert.
Yeah, Simple Dreams came out in 77. So this album would have come out like kind of in the aftermath of that. But I hear that kind of same, you can tell that they're kind of in the same scene, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And this is the time that Dolly went pop with Here We Go Again or Here You Come Again. I mean, so just to kind of put in context what her contemporaries were doing at the time.
That's true. I never thought about it that way, but yeah, it's true. There were a lot of people taking more risks, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right, so the album switches gears very quickly with track 2. It's interesting because the first 3 Emmylou albums, or 4, whatever, however you want to count, you have the fast song, then it goes into a ballad. She does the opposite this time. It starts off mid-tempo, and then she cranks it up for song 2. I consider this song a classic. It was a #1 hit for her, 2 More Bottles of Wine. This is not really something we had heard from her before, doing a rock and roll song quite like this. Do you guys think?
Different rock and roll than it's not the Graham Parsons rock and roll. It's different.
Right.
It's not C'est La Vie.
No.
No, but if I'm not mistaken, I think that two more bottles of wine was cut a lot earlier than the album.
Okay.
Was it?
I think it was recorded. I'm not going to say it 100% now, but I think that two more bottles of wine was cut in like 76 or 75 or something.
So when did Delbert McClinton's version come out? He wrote the song.
Let me check that out right away, because I have never listened to that song as much. Delbert, I might be wrong.
It was out.
I do karaoke very rarely, but one time I tried to do this song and it was a disaster. So never again.
Really?
Never again. I'll let Emmylou do it.
She changes up the lyrics from his version, so that's why his version is I could be a big star by today, but I'm sleeping in a wet warehouse in West LA.
It was released in 1975.
Okay.
Yeah.
By Delbert. Yeah, but anyway, I think that, two more bottles of wine, is a song that will forever be connected with Emmylou. She still performs it in her live sets. She has done it with all her live bands, you know, Spyboy, Nash Ramblers, Hot Band, Red Dirt Boys. It's always something that people want to listen to. I think that,
Yeah.
you know, she almost doesn't do a show without it. It's always. I think that the version she did with the Nash Ramblers was so damn cool with Roy Husky on the upright bass. But the piano thing here in the beginning, you know, it's, you can hear that it's starting to rock already from the beginning. And her voice, she has a different way of singing on this album. It's more raspy. It's more.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes very much through on this song too, and more. You can hear. I think it's Diane Brooks singing in the background. You know, with the, you know.
Yeah, it is. It is
a gospel black singer. You know, you could hear that she has that soul sound to the voice that fits pretty well to Emmy's music back then. So
it's interesting that Albert Lee and Glenn D. Harden play piano on it. So there's two pianos on the song.
Is Albert Lee playing piano on it?
Yeah. He's playing electric guitar and piano.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, yeah. He's a good piano player as well.
The beginning piano gives me a little bit of the old time rock and roll Bob Seger vibe, which is that dun, dun, dun. Which was the same year. That was 78 also.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another great album, Stranger in Town. I mean, there was just great albums out in 78. Fleetwood Mac were recording Tusks. They were not around till the following year, but yeah, 2 More Bottles of Wine. Boy, I feel like I say this every time, but Emmylou just, she went to that song and just took ownership of it. It's an Emmylou Harris song.
It is, and she says that often. I've heard her say that, you know, that she's a ballad singer and she's get drawn to ballads, but people will mostly remember her for this song. She usually introduces the song by saying that, you know, but it's a great song. And it looks. I saw her perform it last time at the Hardly Strictly Bluegrass Festival in San Francisco, and she played the heck out of it, and the crowd was enjoying it very much.
And who did the guitar solos on this one?
Probably Albert Lee, because
Okay.
he's the only electric guitar player on it. So yeah, there's pedal steel too on it.
Right.
Hank DeVito. You know, this song I listened to Sirius XM, both Outlaw Country and Willie's Roadhouse in my car quite a bit, and sometimes in my earbuds when I take a walk. Like, I love listening to Buddy Miller and Jim Lauderdale's show, but on those stations in their regular rotation, on both the Outlaw Country and the classic country station, this song is in constant rotation on the satellite radio. Yeah, Emmylou Harris's version. Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. I wish I could hear that radio station here in Norway, but it's, you know.
Yeah. Well, the Buddy and Jim show is amazing. I gotta say.
I know that I know as much that I know as much. You know, I've heard a couple of it, but you know, I will hear more when I'm traveling over, probably.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on. We slow things down a little bit. I feel like this next song is one that Emmylou just loves because I feel like every time I see her, she does it in concert. Songbird. Did I skip anything?
You don't want to skip the Dolly Parton song.
Oh, To Daddy is next? Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. My eyesight's bad. So Emmylou or Dolly Parton wrote this one, but she had not recorded it yet, correct?
She hadn't.
She had recorded it, but she didn't release it.
Okay.
She didn't release. Yeah. So back then they would, like, you know, they were friends and they would sometimes invite people over to the studio and listen to what they had just recorded, you know. And so Dolly had recorded her album and or songs for her album, and she wanted friends to come over and listen. And so she invited Emmylou, and when Emmy heard it, she was like, I need that song. I want that song.
It was supposed to go on All I Can Do.
Oh, I love that album. That's a good album.
That had Boulder to Birmingham on it.
Yes, that's true. And
and so
the song All I Can Do is a sizzler. Ooh, I love that song.
But she didn't put To Daddy on the album.
She didn't, and it was the biggest feud that she and Porter Wagner ever had.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because Porter said to Dolly, "You cannot give that song away, you know, because this is going to be a big hit. It's going to be your hit." And Dolly was like, "No, if Emmy wants it, she's going to have it, you know." and
Huh.
I rather have her record it. And of course, it was a big hit for Emmylou,
Mm-hmm.
and it fits Emmylou. Dolly didn't release it up until 1994 on her live album Heart Songs. She did it in Smoky Mountains, Dollywood. So
Right.
that's the first time she released it. She also released it as a single. It's a typical Dolly Parton song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a story. That's storytelling. It says here on Wikipedia that the original recording came out on the Essential Dolly Parton 1995 compilation. So that must have been her original outtake from All I Can Do. But the Hard Songs version came out first from Dolly, the live.
Try to listen to that Heart Song version. She has, Rhonda Vincent, Alison Krauss, Carl Jackson singing harmony, and you have, Roy Husky playing bass, and several members from the Nash Ramblers are there. It's amazing. The best live album Dolly Parton ever made.
Yeah.
Heart Songs.
I feel like Dolly, I have every Dolly album I think that's been on CD almost. And she's so hit or miss. Either her albums are just amazing classics or just complete, I hate to say garbage, but like there's just some that I'm just not into. You know what I mean? Like she's so hit or miss, but when Dolly's on, she's so on.
I like country and bluegrass Dolly. I'm not that fond of pop Dolly myself.
Yeah, like Little Sparrow and Grass is Blue.
I love that.
Such great albums coming out around the same time as Red Dirt Girl.
And Heart Songs is amazing.
Heart Songs.
I am. I haven't heard that, so I'm gonna listen to it after we get off the podcast.
Listen to PMS Blues. I love
it. Hills and Horns was another good one from that era. But anyway, Tadia, you're right. I feel like this is I don't want to say a typical Dolly Parton song, but she did tell a story. She did have a way of telling like mournful stories. This is it's a sad song.
So good storytelling. Dolly is a good storyteller. The way she writes, it makes you kind of like can imagine what she's talking about when you hear it. The lyrics are like it's so easy to like make up a film in your head when you hear it. That's how good she is as a writer. Simple but cut right to the core.
And some of them got really dark in the early 70s before she went popular. Like she told some really wrenching stories, like Down from Dover. Isn't that about?
I love that song. Ooh.
You know what we should do? We should do a Dolly Parton thing.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot to talk about. We should do one for Linda and one for Dolly later, shouldn't we?
Yeah. I feel like Dolly. We could skip some of her albums. I don't think we need a podcast doing To God and Country track by track, but
well, we can drop that one.
Marianne Faithfull did a great version of Down from Dover. She actually opened her album with it. So
wow,
you never know where Dolly's songwriting's to come out. Didn't Donna Summer write a song for Dolly Parton that went to #1?
I don't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll go back to Emmylou Harris. To Daddy. A great song for Emmylou to record. It really fits the album.
She would open the shows in the 70s with its song, or as an encore, only on a guitar, as a solo on a guitar, her only. And you can find that on different, videos, YouTube or bootlegs or whatever people are listening, or radio shows that has been recorded. Her solo on To Daddy, and it's so good because her voice comes so clear when she that is amazing. Try to figure I will see if I have it somewhere, because
the Donna Summer song that Dolly recorded was Starting Over Again, and I believe it was a big hit for Dolly. So
that's a pretty good song
written by Donna Summer. Pretty cool, right?
Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All
right, so any other words on To Daddy?
To Daddy. No, Big Daddy.
Big Daddy. I think it's good. It was a different kind of song for Emmylou. I think if Dolly had recorded it would have been just another Dolly song in a way.
Well, it's sort of like Coat of Many Colors in a way.
It is. It's a sort of a coat of many colors songs, and I think that's what Emmy heard when she, heard the song. Like, oh, it's the same thing, And Coat of Many Colors is Emmy's favorite Dolly song.
Right. Yeah. For good reason. It's a great song.
It occurred to me that all of side one has this kind of almost feminist theme.
Yeah.
Woman entrapped in various situations, either loneliness or what?
They need to re-release it now.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm serious. I think it's It's got all of a piece from cut one to the last one, but we're only 3 cuts through. So
Well, I feel like Emmylou, they recorded so much back then, and I feel like they always had a lot of things sitting on the shelf. And when it came time to do an album, they could kind of cherry pick, like, this fits this, this belongs on this album. And they did that right through Cimarron, right? And Evangeline, where they kind of took some of the outtakes, then made albums out of those. So they just did so much work back then.
That's correct.
yeah.
All right, now we are going on to Songbird. I know this is one of Emmylou's favorites, right? And I will say it's not one of my favorites. I know I don't hope you guys don't hate me for saying that, but I just never got into this song.
Shame on you.
Because I don't understand. Like, the bird's in a cage and she's gonna make it sit there because she doesn't want to fly free. Like, what is happening here?
It's a Jesse Winchester song to begin with, so
Let the bird go. Just let it go.
yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting because when you hear Jesse's version, it might be a little bit even kind of retrograde in terms of its sexual politics, but when Emmylou sings it and she uses the same pronouns as Jesse, it takes on a different kind of character. I think I love Jesse Winchester. Don't get me wrong, but this
Jesse
is
Winchester recorded this song first. He wrote it, and Emmy sang on the original one as well.
right.
So that was released a year before on an album called Nothing But the Breeze.
Yeah, and it's the same one that has Defying Gravity on it too, doesn't it? Or is that a different album?
I'm not sure, but it is an album also that Brian Ahern produced.
Yeah.
It is basically the hot band that plays on that one as well, and Emmy is putting harmonies on that album. So it's a great album. Nothing But a Breeze by Jesse Winchester. Check it out. He's a great artist on his own, and it's a different version than what she recorded. And I think Emmy, she started working with she recorded with him in 1970. The first time she recorded with him. So she knew his material. However, I will say this, and that comes back to the version on this album. This is what I think is a little bit overproduced, because when you hear her doing that song later on as the opening track for her Spy Boy album, which is a slightly different take with only her on the guitar, I kind of feel like this song is even better when it's done more simply. Simplicity of it. It's more, it comes more through. Because she released a box set in 2007 called Songbird.
Songbird, yeah.
Yeah.
And she was like battling with herself if she was going to use the Spy Bomb version or the Quarter Moon. And she also released this song on the last Ramble live album with the Nash Ramblers. So she has released it 3 times now.
The thing that I just don't understand, like, the thing that makes me love a song is I can put myself in the song. So I feel like in this song, like, the songbird wants the freedom, but she won't let it go, so she's being an oppressor. And I like that. I just can't. That's just not something that I can relate to. Like, I just never found a way into this song where it was part of any part of my life story, right? Like, what do you guys feel like Emmylou, like, is talking about in this song? Like, does she feel like she's been oppressed, or I feel like Emmylou would never keep someone in a cage.
It's not about a bird. I think it's about a feeling or a love.
A love for somebody?
Yeah. She won't let them go even though it's the best for them, because she loves them so much.
Oh, okay.
It's a thing.
And feels shame about it too.
Fair enough.
The last I always loved the last
Forbidden.
Lord, when your jeweler's eye peers into my soul. That image is, I think, amazing. Think of God with the jeweler's glass looking into somebody's soul.
Right.
Yeah.
And oh Lord, I am overcome with shame.
Yep. It's not a parakeet.
It's not an upbeat song.
See, I think it's just a matter of, like, I'm the kind of person, like, I'm like, get out of here, move along, see you later. So
see, it fits in with all these themes of imprisonment.
I know, yeah. I do recognize its importance in her repertoire.
I could be in the sun all day, but I'm sweeping out a warehouse in West LA, you know.
Right, yeah.
Mama's finally going to go out and find some love. You know, okay, maybe a one night stand, but it's going to be easy from now on. My songbird wants her freedom. All this women that are imprisoned in.
I remember in 2019, she did a one-off show in Norway at a country music festival, big festival up in the mountains. I mean, like up in the mountains. There are dirt roads to going up there. There's middle of nowhere. And she flew in there with a private airplane and everything from the States and landed up there in the mountains. And so she was going to do this big show, you know, during the night. But before that, we were going to church with only like a few people could go to that church. It was sold out, small Norwegian church up in the mountain. Mm-hmm. And she came out and she sang Songbird with her guitar only in front of the church. And it was like, hallelujah, you know. Queen coming to town, and you could see that all, you know, grown-up men were sitting there, you know, drying their tears. Like,
wow.
Piercing. Really good, really good. And then she broke into Will the Circle Be Unbroken after that. So it was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah. I have it on video.
So you were there, right?
Oh yeah, I was there.
Yeah,
I was there. I was hanging out with her backstage, and you know, it was a great night, and she looked great. I'm gonna show you some photos of that later. Yeah.
Great.
All right. Well, moving on from the Songbird, this next song is the one that features members of the band. This song is a freaking stomper, man. Leaving Louisiana in the broad daylight. This is one of my favorite Emmylou Harris songs of all time. I think the production, there's just like a swampy earthiness to it. The rollicking, like, storytelling. The song just fits the story. The sound fits the song. I just feel like this is perfection. The harmonies. Oh my God. I love this song.
It sounds like it's from Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has the cajun, you know, vibe to it, you know, with accordion and.
Well, that Garth Hudson makes it with the accordion, really.
And she had right before that, you know, this is the same year this album came out. Was the year that Randy Crowell released his first solo album,
right?
Called "Ain't Living Long Like This,"
right.
And that song, that album was also produced by Brian Ahern. It was also the hot band,
all the hot bands on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this song, it's a different version that he has than that one Emmylou has. And
first came out first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Came out before both the Rodney Crowell songs on this album were on this before his album came out.
And she said in the interview about the recording session, or was it Brian Ahern? That she was, you know, she was carrying the baby around, you know, and she had the bottle with the milk, and the rhythm that you hear there, you know, in the background is actually them shaking the bottle for the baby. Now they were using that.
I feel like Emmylou is just one of the best live performers ever. I mean, some of her live versions really rival the studio versions, but this is one of the songs that I feel like nothing ever topped the studio version for me for this one. I just think that mix with the accordion, the harmonies, I don't know, there's just something really magical about this recording to me. She really lets some of the rawness of her voice come through in broad daylight. Like, she just really she gets kind of raw here. It's just
raspy voice.
Yeah. Oh, perfection.
And it's also it's first time you hear Emmylou Harris doing this type of song in that kind of, you know, genre.
Right.
It's different from her previous albums, and it's kind of like a little bit rock and roll as well, I would say, you know. It makes you want to jump up and dance, you know.
It definitely has a bounce to it. This is a song, like, if I'm getting in my car and I'm about to take a trip that I'm excited, like, I often start off my song with this trip. Like, it's just, you know, we always say Emmylou's known for her ballads, but it's these fast songs that are just as important, if not sometimes more important to me. Like, I've listened to this song so many times in my life, and it's good memories. Like, this is just a feel good. Shit, we all need to leave Louisiana in the broad daylight. Let's get the hell out of here.
Mary took to running with
Hey,
Yeah.
I've lived in Louisiana, so
never been there.
I lived in Baton Rouge for a year.
Well, that's another great Guy Clark song.
Oh yeah, I love that Guy Clark song.
Yeah.
Paz is over in Louisiana, right? What to look
He's
him
in
up.
New Orleans, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, any other thoughts on leaving Louisiana?
I listened to this album a couple of times and again preparing for the podcast, and I'm hearing Rick Danko's harmony in there, but there's another voice, and I think it might is it Emmylou overdubbing herself because there's no other vocal credit other than Rick in there.
She is singing harmony on the song.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I love this song too. Apparently, who had wasn't it the Oak Ridge Boys ended up having a hit with it?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
With it, yeah. Different version as well again.
Yeah.
And
nothing beats this to me.
I'm surprised this was never released as a single. I feel like this could have been a big hit for Emmylou.
Could have been, yeah. And it's still a song that she has in her repertoire doing live still to this day.
A lot of people know this song from her.
Huh?
I said, I feel like a lot of people know her version. It still got kind of popular, even though it wasn't a single.
Mm-hmm. She sings it differently. She did it differently with the Ramblers and differently with the Red Dirt Boys than the recorded version. Totally different beat to it these days. But I guess, after we've been doing a song for 40 years, it's kind of more exciting to try to do a little bit changes.
Well, Rodney's version that came out the later the same year as this album sounds, I mean, with the same musicians, sounds almost very similar to her version, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing I like about this song is they didn't take it too fast and they didn't take it too slow. Like the tempo is just perfect for the story it tells. Just kind of like taking off on the highway, like that bounce. I could listen to this song over and over, and I have, to be honest with you. I mean, this album was actually slower than I remember because you remember the rock songs like "Bottles of Wine," "Louisiana," and "Ain't Living Long." But there were a lot more slow songs I remember. So I feel like a lot of times I pull out this album just for the fast songs.
It's a classic.
Yeah. All right. When we flip over the album, Emmylou's getting philosophical, talking about living on a big blue ball, defying gravity. This is a beautiful song.
Now that's also a Jesse Winchester song, but I looked it up. It's from Learn to Love It, his second album or third album. So it's from an earlier Jesse Winchester album.
She doesn't actually say defying gravity at all in the song, right?
No.
Yeah, I feel like, it's definitely kind of that 1978 California pop, kind of folky, Linda Ronstadt kind of vibe. What do you guys think of this one?
It's a good song. I don't listen to it much. It's a 2-chord song only. And I don't feel like it's I think Richard can talk about this song.
But it is a 2-chord song. I mean, I remember working it up. I do a different song every day on Facebook, and I've done this song, and it's hard to make it interesting with just 2 chords. But I think Jesse Winchester features on this so much, maybe because Brian was producing his album at the time, but he must have known Brian Ahern from Canada because Winchester was he evaded the draft by going to Canada, lived in Montreal, and was fine. By the time this came out, he was allowed back because of Jimmy Carter's amnesty. And I remember I went to see him at his first tour at the Cellar Door, and but it's a good song.
We have a key change in there, right?
They put the key change in there. Was a production decision on this album, I think.
I would make it a little bit more interesting.
Maybe so. Yeah.
I like the humming on the end of it.
Yeah.
I like the humming when she's like doing the humming.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a recognizable melody. Like I remember the song, my mom playing this when I was a kid.
Yeah, she did play pretty much live on the Quarter Moon tour. It was in the set list for the whole tour.
Yeah. Well,
Well, moving on. Any other thoughts on Defying Gravity?
no, I mean I like it. I will say it's also not my favorite song on the record, but
But just like side one, it starts off with kind of a slower song, then goes into a rock and roll. Because Ain't Living Long Like This. I mean, we have not heard Emmylou do something quite like this before. And I don't
yeah.
know.
See, side one seems to me like has a unified theme and kind of trajectory. Side two seems a little bit less so.
A little patchy, like in the theme.
Little to me. I mean, I like everything on it, but in terms of like a unified programming for a side of the album, side one is I think programmed more thematically more interesting to me.
Well,
I don't know.
Ain't Living Long Like This is definitely. Do you feel like that's the rockiest that Emmylou had gotten thus far?
Ooh, Las Vegas.
Well, yeah. But even that had kind of the country, a little more country than this one to me.
Well, Ain't Living Long Like This is pretty country.
Yeah.
I
The
like
big hit was Waylon Jennings when his version
it
was
was a
the
hit,
one.
and it's also from the same album, Rodney Crowell. His
Yeah.
album, and song that she has always done. I mean, like it's always a fun song to see her do live, and I guess that I tend to like her live versions better than the album version because the bass is so thin on it. I want it to be like more. It could have been have more muscles on it. But I never skip it. I listen to it. If you put it on loud, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I like the organ you have in the background on it. It's more. Is it a B3 organ or something? I'm not sure.
Here I got the credits here.
Or is it just
Doesn't say organ.
Hmm.
Electric guitar, piano, pedal steel, bass drums, rhythm by Rodney, acoustic by Emmylou, and Diane Brooks doing supporting vocals.
Yeah, you can also hear the soul vocals on that one as well.
Yeah.
Diane Brooks was an artist on her own right. She released albums.
I know.
Brian Hurd produced her albums. I have never been able to find her albums, but she was a fairly good singer.
What are all the Emmylou songs that she does appear on?
On this album, she appears on Two More Bottles of Wine, Ain't Living Long Like This, and Burn That Candle. I think that's it.
Okay. Great contributions, though.
Yeah, she sings harmony on Elite Hotel, the background harmony on Together Again. That's
right. Yep.
Yeah.
So good singer.
Yeah. And they sounded great together.
She had a big career before this. She was with a bunch of like soul groups in the like 60s, apparently.
Yep.
I looked her up because I was curious. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she kind of like disappeared after this, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any other thoughts on Ain't Living Long Like This?
I like that song. It's a cool Rodney Crowell classic still to this day, And his solo album, if you haven't heard it, go check it out. It's a good album.
I've got it. Yeah, I've got every one of Rodney's albums, even the bad ones.
Well, Willie Nelson's about to enter the studio. The album's about to slow down again. One Paper Kid. What do you guys think of this one?
So I think that One Paper Kid is a beautiful song.
Yeah.
It is very underrated, and it should have been played more on radio. It should have been out there, The way that they sing together and the harmonica in the background, it's just like a storytelling, even though I don't know what the song is about.
Right.
It was written by Donovan Cowart's older brother, Walter Cowart. So Donovan Cowart was a partner of Rodney Crowell's in a duo before he joined up with Emmylou, and he's also one of the engineers on this album. And he co-wrote a lot of stuff with Rodney as well.
It's very haunting, and And I
Yeah.
think that
So
with
his older brother wrote this. Rodney has a book called The Word where he kind of talks about stuff, and he says that basically Donovan's older brother was just this cool pot smoking guy that they used to hang out with. But he wrote this song, and as you said, what is it about? It's very enigmatic. The story that it tells.
and it's only Emmylou on guitar and with Willie doing harmonies. It's her,
Uh-huh.
basically her on guitar, and you have the harmonic in the background. I
Yeah.
wonder why. I mean, like I've seen Willie Nelson and Emmylou many times through the years doing duets, singing different songs, but never this song.
Right.
Why didn't they? Why didn't this should have been a single?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a great vocal performance on his part and on her part. They
He sings very good harmony on the song.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. I was just wondering because of all the stories. I was thinking back to the story we were talking about with Pancho and Lefty from last time, where
Oh yeah.
people say that his daughter, gave him the Emmylou record, and that's how he came to do the duet with Merle Haggard. But reading the liner notes to Quarter Moon, Emmylou apparently is quoted as saying she spent like a lot of number of times with opening for Willie Nelson before this album came out.
Mm-hmm.
So he must have heard her do Pancho and Lefty, in concert
Right.
if she was touring with him the whole time.
No. Yeah, because she started to do that song a little bit before she recording it live as well. So
I almost kind of wish that this song wasn't coming right after "Ain't Living Long" like this, because I feel like it's just a. Imagine if it like started off side two. You know what I mean? Like just got a more of a front and center placement on the album, because I feel like it just gets a little bit lost for me. And then the next song is kind of another acoustic song, so I feel like I have a guy Jimmy that does some of my like Blondie and Eurythmics podcasts. And he always has like his sequence of what the albums would have done. So I would love to see what he would have done with this sequence. What do you guys think? Do you like where it is on the album coming after "Ain't Living Long"?
well, it's cool. Yeah, Richard, you can go.
I just think that sequencing is weird on the second side.
I do too.
But I mean, I love all the songs, and I agree with Tarja that this song is a great song and a great performance. Probably the best performance on the side. Oh well, I ain't living long like this accepted, I guess.
It's a hidden little gem, It's a song that we forget about.
Yeah.
Right.
Sort of like I sort of like forget about this song and how good it is. Every time I put it on, I get like, wow, it's a great song,
Imagine if it started side two, like you turn over the record and it goes right into this, and then into Defying Gravity. Like I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised. They didn't release this as a single or anything, did they?
No.
Because Willie Nelson was pretty hot at this point.
Right. And about to get hotter too. Like
Yeah. But he'd already done like Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain and on that Redheaded Stranger record by then.
what year was the Waylon and Willie album?
Oh, that was Wanted the Outlaws?
No, there's the one that just Waylon and Willie where they do Gold Dust Woman, I feel like.
Oh, I don't remember what year that was. But the Outlaws album was 76.
Okay.
Stardust, wasn't that?
Stardust has a Susanna Clark painting on the cover.
Yeah.
This is the one I'm thinking of, you guys. Oh,
that one.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
When did Stardust came out about right about 78, didn't it?
I think
can't
so.
remember. Yeah. That's where he's doing those standards.
right. All right. Well, after One Paper Kid, we kind of move into another slow acoustic song, Green Rolling Hills of West Virginia. What do you guys think of this one?
I think it's a great song, and she sings this as a duet with Face of Starling or Face of McLean. She's called that today, and she had heard this song being played. She was at a party or something, and that song was played in the background with another song of Hello Stranger.
Oh,
that was Hazel Dickens. Great singer, and that's how she discovered those songs, and someone gave it to her, the album that she could listen to, and she would sing, later, when every time she would sing and Hazel was there, they would do this song as a duet together. You know.
Yeah, the song was written by Utah Phillips, and Hazel Dickens and Alice Gerard did a version of it. They actually added a verse to it.
Okay.
So I think the last, if I'm not mistaken, I'll have to look this up when we get off. But I think the last verse is the Hazel Dickens Alice Gerard verse that was added to the Utah Phillips song.
Hmm.
Oh, it's a beautiful song.
It is. It is. I love that song.
I feel like once again it just gets a little bit lost in the sequencing. Like having One Paper Kid go into this, if you're just listening, it kind of just doesn't stand out as much as it could. I feel like if it was centered a little bit different. And I just looked up the Waylon and Willie album was 78 because I remember my parents buying that album the same time as Quarter Moon. So that's kind of like the landscape of 1978.
This is the only song that has Ricky Skaggs on it on the album.
Okay.
He's playing fiddle and viola, both.
Viola.
Yeah.
I alwast wonder.
I guess they've rocked a lot, and they just brings it down, I guess, a little bit and gives you a little respite before the bang up closer.
I almost wonder what the album would have sounded like if you had like the rock side than the more haunting side. Oh well, a different universe. It is what it is. But it is a beautiful song. Any other thoughts on Rolling Hills?
Nah, it's she re-recorded it as well on something called Transatlantic Sessions with Jerry Douglas and stuff, and did an acoustic version of it as well.
Is that only in a video, or did they make a record of that too?
Record as well, yeah, it's on record. She did, I think, a duet with Mary Black. Same.
I think I've seen it on a video. Did they do that on a video too? They had a whole bunch of videos of those transatlantic sessions.
Yeah, they did videos of it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Jerry Douglas, man, I'm not worthy. As somebody who's played dobro for a long time, but is nowhere near what Jerry Douglas can do.
Well, after two kind of more mellow songs, Emmylou decided to crank it up for the closing track. Burn That Candle. This is... Now, Tyler, you said you felt like the song was a little bit underrated, and I think so too. I feel like this is kind of a stomper. I remember my mom playing this one. Great background vocals, great harmonies. What do you guys think of this one?
I told you it was a Bill Haley and the Comets song.
Right.
The author, Winfield Scott, is a black guy. He is one of the co-authors of Return to Sender, among other things. So I like sort of like here we get maybe not acknowledged on the album. We get the black roots of country music here.
Sure.
On the album.
I also feel like it ties it back to that, keep that candle burning bright, mama. We're kind of closing back with that feminist theme that was really explored on side one. And, keep the light burning, keep it shining. And what a message we need today now more than ever. Burn that candle, everybody. Night and day.
Both hands.
Yeah.
It's a great song, and I like, it's a fun song. It's a playful song. It's almost the same as Living Louisiana. It has the same vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
And also I think that is it Diane Brooks that kind of like sings in the background there as well.
Yep.
And Nicolette Larson.
Nicolette Larson is there as well. Okay, you hear that they start to play with the vocals in the end of the song. They start like it's. Yeah, I like that song. I wish she should have done it live in her shows. It's a great.
It song. Also has Garth Hudson on it again, playing the baritone sax.
So
you got another band appearance on there. Garth just passed away last week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He was the best musician of the band. In fact, his parents didn't want him playing with a rock and roll band, so he told them he was giving them music lessons. They all had to pay him like $10 a week to give him music lessons. Parents were okay with that.
Well, it's interesting. Each side starts off with a slow song, and then both sides end with like a kind of a stomper. So this is once again just a different Emmylou Harris album. Uh, I think it was wise of her for an artist to have a really, really, really long career. You have to do things different sometimes, and I think she was at a point now with this being her. I count it as her fourth album. I know there's Gliding Bird, but in my mind, like this was the fourth of the classic Warner Brothers albums. I think it was really smart that she switched gears, and we do have the bonus tracks, which once again do not. I was talking about this on a different podcast. Like I love playing this album and burn this candle, and then it goes off into silence. Like I think that ending is just the perfect way to end Quarter Moon. I feel like bonus tracks. Where else can you put them than on?
Well, they're from much later too.
Yeah,
They're the Barry Tashin, version of the Hot Band. They're much later cuts. So why they're extras on Quarter Moon, I don't understand.
No, they don't. They don't. It's not the same sound as at all. Like I seen special is from the 13 tour, which is 1986,
Yeah,
and a New Cut Road is also from the 80s, mid 80s.
yeah.
I always thought that Lacazine Special was something from earlier. Then she recorded it on 13, but that was just from the tour of 13. That's all.
Yeah, she did. She only did that song during that tour.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, during that tour, yeah. And she sometimes would do it in '87 as well.
Okay.
That tour was a very fast tour. It didn't last long.
Well, this is an interesting. I feel just a transitional album. It was necessary. I think it has some classics on it. I don't think it maintained like the classic status of Luxury Liner, but I think it did kind of further put her feet in the ground and say, "I'm here to stay. I can do more than one thing. I can do more than 10 things." Like what I mean? Like she had a lot to offer. Do you guys have any other closing thoughts on Quarter Moon and a 10-cent Town?
Well,
it's a classical Emmylou Harris album, and it's one of the better albums, in their catalog, and still to this day, it's one of the best sellers.
Right.
I like the album, but again, of all her 5 first albums, it's the one I list.
And it's got a #1 hit on it too. So
yeah.
Right.
2 more bottles.
And again,
and To Daddy was a big hit too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I got mine as part of the box set, so it's still going through the box set there. What do you guys rank this album? Scale of 1 to 10. I know it's hard, a little bit harder with this one.
8.
An 8.
8. Yeah.
You know what? That's what I thought too. An 8. I mean, some of the songs on here are classic Emmylou Harris songs that you just will always go back to that are so important to her catalog. And there's not a bad song on the album. If there's any fault to this album, I feel like that, like Richard, you said, I think the sequencing is just a little bit off on side 2.
Yeah. Although I'm going to go right out and learn how to play One Paper Kid after this.
Yeah. We need to make a hashtag justice for One Paper Kid. I feel like that's the undiscovered gem on this one.
It is, yeah. And it is hard, to compare anything. Rate Emmylou Harris's albums. I mean, like after Luxury Liner, Luxury Liner is such a good album. How the hell are you going to be anything as good as that?
Right.
But she hasn't made a bad album in her whole career.
Right.
Or it's a different thing, but she hasn't. Her albums, it is quality all over.
I feel like she does really have a sterling standard to her catalog. I mean, there's some I like more than others, but there's nothing that I'm like, man, this sucks. You know what I mean? No. Like nothing.
No.
She has very high standards and excellent taste in choosing songs to perform, which is so understandable to me that it took her a long time to blossom as a songwriter in her own right.
Right.
Because when you see when she's picking the cream of the crop, really, and when you are so good at finding other people's songs, it must be terribly intimidating for your own songwriting, skills to have to compete with that. Well, she does compete with it later on.
Yeah. No, it's a great album, and I think that it is, as I said, it's a favorite of many people's. For the Moon in Tenzin Town, it's a favorite among fans. So it's basically down to taste. Some has this album as a favorite, some has Luxury Liner, some has Pieces of the Sky as a favorite.
But I feel like when you look at someone's like record collection from the 70s, you'll find this album a lot. Like this is an album that a lot of people have and love, just like you said. So, well, gentlemen, I feel like let's meet again in 2 weeks and move on to Blue Kentucky Girl, which is...
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I know. Oh, that's... Now there we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's...
All right. I'm bringing I got that Loretta album. I'm bringing it. I'm going to show it next podcast.
Yeah.
I know it's up in the head, but I just feel like Blue Kentucky is just an important album. That's an important album. I can't wait to talk about it. So, gentlemen, thanks for spending your Sunday afternoon or evening for Tadia. You're a little bit later over there.
Straight to bed now, up in 5 hours. So let's talk soon.
All right.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.